Hey everyone, it's Bumblebee, and I talk about everything hiking, backpacking, and camping. So if these topics interest you, please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I upload new content. I apologize for how long it's taken me to upload the next video, but as you can see, I am in my new apartment, and I will be working on the part 2 for the Costco down Underquilt. So part of the delays on this video is with the moves, I lost a part for the sewing machine I was using. So I had to order a new part. So with this video, I started it, but then I had to stop because I was missing the piece. And so you'll see me actually wearing two different outfits, which will explain that. But without further ado, let me go ahead and get started. And depending upon how long this video goes, we'll probably be combining the two pieces together. If this turns out to be a long video, then I might break this up into 3 parts. But as you can see behind me, there's the fabric laid out. So I will be doing the layout of the cutting that I'll be doing. I have already cut the length of the material. I've added an extra inch to the material to do a hem on each end of it. So it's got an extra ½ inch on each end. So when I do my measurements, I'm going to have to, on the layout, I'm going to have to keep that in mind. And also when I measure out the width, I'm going to have a ½ inch or so on each side to allow for a hem on that as well. But also, when the material is being made, there's what's called the selvage, I believe is what it's called. You'll notice on the material, it looks a little bit different, but that's where the rollers are. As the material is being made, you'll be able to tell there's a little bit of fraying on the very end, which is why we're also putting the hem along the whole border of the material, which will be sewing that first. So when you do the layout, you want to go from that long edge that has the less fraying, the edge that is going to be the straightest. Which you'll get a better idea when I do go to lay this out. So, which is actually right now on my right, but as I turn around to my left. But as you'll see right here, but when you do get your own material, you'll be able to see the difference where those rollers are. But it lays out exactly the same as the down quilt that we did in the previous video, with the exception of the extra ½ inch along all 4 borders. So let me get started on the layout here. As before, my width is 46 inches, but we're going to add an extra inch, so that will be a total of 47. know, just want to make a mark. Periodically. Down the whole length of this. And yes, I'm using a Sharpie. Most people would use the layout chalk, whatever, but I'm using what I got. I am not a seamstress. And yes, my mom would be shaking her head right now. Now, we also need to lay out for our center triangle, which we need to find the center point, and then we will need to lay it out. So once we find the center point, we're going to measure up 12.5 inches, and then we'll draw out that triangle. We add the extra 1/2 inch because of the hem allowance. So half of 47 is, let me do my math in my head here, is 23.5. We'll go up. Inches. And then it's also then it's 4 inches wide at the bottom of the triangle. So 2 inches on each side. And I'm going to lay something under this to make it easier to draw this out. Since I am on the carpet. then I will do that on the other side, and then I'll draw my line up the edge here, and then we'll get it, the edge cut off, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine. Now we have everything laid out. I didn't cut out the little center triangle piece. What I'm wanting to first do is sew the 1/2 inch hem around all the 4 outside edges. So what I did was I took this here, which is a sewing gauge, and I set it with a little slide at 1/2 inch, and I folded over the edge 1/2 inch, and every so often I put a straight pin in it. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple stitches. Here I got my needle down, got the presser foot down and the needle down. I'm going to sew in a couple stitches, and then I'm going to do my locking stitch, and then we're just going to do a straight line stitch down this whole long side, and then I'm going to repeat this on the other 3 sides. So when we get to the part over here where the triangle piece is, let me show you. I haven't folded it over here yet, but I am going to fold it all the way over and sew it straight across before I cut it. I'm not going to show you doing this on all 4 sides, because once I show you this to you once, you'll get the idea of it. But then I'll go back and I'll show you then, and we'll cut out that diamond piece, and then we'll sew that together. So here, let me go ahead and get this started. So, like I said, we will, get my little foot thing here situated. So we'll get a no problem, and we'll go. Alright, so we lock that in, and then we are going to sew right up to that first straight pin. Alright, I got one that just popped out. Let me put it back in. So before we go through, we want to make sure we take out that pin, so we don't want to damage our needle in the sewing machine. And you can take your time with this, just like we did on the down quilt. And just feed it straight. stop this and finish the rest of this, and then I will come back and show you what I do with those center triangles. So now I have all 4 sides hemmed. One thing to note, that when you do this, you want to make sure you fold all 4 sides in the same direction. So make sure you fold them towards the same side. Now, it does make it a little easier that once you do pin it down, that you iron it, you know, you get a crease when you go to sew it. You know, it's not a requirement, but it does make it a little bit easier to sew. Now, I am going to cut the triangle out, and then we're going to bring it together and sew it together. So when we bring it together, when we're hemming it together, we are going to sew it together with the same side. The side that's going to be up is the same side that is the side that we folded the hems on. So we'll go ahead and get that folded or cut and sewn together here. So I don't think I really have to be showing you how to cut. You know, you just kind of cut right there along the lines. So like when we did the down quilt, we sewed on the line, and then we sewed another one just inside it, and then we cut in between, and then we sewed it together. Well, we don't have to do that because we don't have to worry about any down. So we're going to cut on the line, and then we're going to pin it together, and then we're just going to do a straight line stitch all the way down to this point right here. So let me go ahead and get this cut and get it pinned together, and then we'll get it set up in the sewing machine, and I will turn that right back on. Just like we've done with everything else, we want to do a couple stitches and do our locking stitch. And then I've got a loose string caught on the presser foot, so I need to get that cut off because it's tangling things up. Sometimes this happens. Alright, so we got that taken care of. So one of the loose strings here got caught up in the presser foot, so it's just bunching up. So we're gonna just follow that line all the way down, just a little bit past where we cut. Just kind of close to that edge. And remember, don't sew over your pins. Finish with the locking stitch. Raise your needle. Pull it out. And then you want to turn it around and check it and make sure that the whole thing actually came together. So like that. Which this one did. And then you want to repeat that on the other side. So we have our down quilt back. So as you can see, we have an extra piece here that you didn't see the last time. So I added a piece of grow gain here in the center where I sewed that triangle piece together. So I did this because the down continued to come out from there. So I added this to kind of help aid from losing the down from that. So just kind of as an added precaution from losing all of our insulation. So here on the ends where we made our 2 stitches along the side, I did not cut that off yet. So I still got to cut this down. And this is on the long ends. And I'm going to sew grow gain down it as well, just like I did there in the center, to kind of help aid that the down escapage. And instead of using the grow gain for the channel for the shock cord, I believe I'm going to use the remaining ripstop nylon. And I'm thinking of another modification here as well. So with this piece that we're cutting off as well, I am considering also using some of this to make a draft collar. So on the short end here, we would be adding a piece sewn along right here, kind of flop over, so when you have that cordage here, it's on the inside as well. So there's a flap there. So the instructions online don't have a draft collar, but most of the higher end underquilts have a draft collar as an option. So I'm thinking about possibly doing that as well. So we'll see what we come up with here. So let me get this turned off. Let me get these ends cut off, get the grow gain pinned up, and we'll get that sewed up. So I've made the decision not to do the draft collar on this one. So when I do these projects, as I'm making these, this is real time. I don't make one first and then, so any mistakes I make, you're seeing them as I make them. And so I'll try this out, and then if I decide later I want a draft collar, I'll try to make another one and just kind of do a little update video with that one, and then we can test it out. So I have added the grow gain on here just to keep the down in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew close to the edge right here, the outside edge. We don't want to sew down this edge yet, and it'll become apparent a little bit later. So let's get it into the machine. Put down that foot, needle down. Again, take those first couple steps. Again, your locking stitch, and take it slow if you need to. Especially since you're wanting to so let me get some of these strings uncaught. We're wanting to keep it close to that outside edge. And try to sew as straight as possible. And just use your presser foot as a guide. So like mine has some lines here, so I'm just trying to keep the edge of the grow gain lined up with it as I go down. So I'll do one more square, then I'll get this turned off. I'll get this all the way sewed down, and then I will do this on the other side. And then I'll show you what I'm doing with the rest of this. That concludes part 2. So it's going to be 3 parts. In part 3 we'll be putting it all together. Otherwise this would be a really long video. And I'm trying not to make it super long. That way, you know, it makes it a little easier to follow. Hopefully this inspires you to take this on and continue if you already started. But I do apologize for how long it's taken me to get part 2 out, you know, due to some circumstances, you know, life does happen. So I do apologize, so sorry for that. Holiday weekend is coming up, so I hope everyone has a good holiday and gets the time that they need to rest. So part 3 is going to be a little bit later, but I do plan to get it out to y'all. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.